Number 25. Right, so this one's a word problem. So what I'm going to do is, as I am reading the question, I'm going to pause and write out what expression that would be algebraically. So the first sentence, a group of friends decide to divide the $800 cost of a trip equally among themselves. So what I'm going to write for that is simply 800 divided by, now here I would put the number of people going on the trip, but that's an unknown. We don't know how many people are going on the trip, so I'm going to use X as a variable to represent that. Okay. When two of the friends decided not to go on the trip, those remaining still divided the 800 cost equally. So what that looks like is it still costs $800, but the number of people is whatever that starting number was minus 2. Okay. But each friend's share of the cost increased by $20. So what I'm going to do then is add 20 here to represent that the cost now for the number of people going has gone up by 20, and that is going to be equal to what the cost would have been had those two people not backed out. Okay, so I know it's a little tricky to construct the expression off of that. There's 800 people going. This is the number of people, but when two people decide not to go, then that's added $20 to the cost. Okay. Now from here, we can go ahead and solve this equation. So I have some variables. I want to get them on the same side of the equation, so I just have the numbers on this side. So what we're going to do is, this is a positive 800 divided by X, so I'm going to subtract that to the other side. Okay, so these are going to cancel to 0. So I have 20 equals 800 X minus 2 minus 800 over X. Now I have the subtraction of two fractions. They need a common denominator, so this denominator needs to have an X introduced, and this one needs an X minus 2. Okay, so now I have X times 800. And then here, this is all of this times that. So X times X is X squared, and X times a negative 2 is a negative 2X. And then we have the same here, 800 times X is 800X, and then the 800 times a negative 2 is negative 1,600. And then this times all of this is X times X, and X times negative 2. So we get that X squared minus 2X in the denominator. Then what we're going to do is, now I can combine them into one fraction. So it's 800X. Now this is minus all of this. So it's going to be minus 800X plus 1,600. And then now we're just going to combine it under a single denominator. So then we have 20 equals 800X minus 800X is 0. Okay, now to continue, I'm going to multiply both sides by X squared minus 2X. So then it will cancel here because X squared minus 2X divided by X squared minus 2X, just 1. And then this 200 is going to distribute to both of these. Sorry, that's a 20. So 20 times X squared and 20 times negative 2X. And then now we've got a quadratic equation, so those can be solved when you set them equal to 0. So I've got a minus 1,600 both sides, so now this side equals 0. Okay, now I have a quadratic equation. We're going to solve this by factoring, but I can divide. You should recognize that you can divide all of these by 20 to simplify it for yourself a bit. Okay, and then we're going to factor. X times X is 8 squared. To get 80, I can do 8 times 10. And if we make it a negative 10 and a positive 8, so we can check it, x times x is x squared. Negative 10 times 8 is negative 80, and negative 10 plus 8 is negative 2. Then I have if x minus 10 times x plus 2 equals 0, then x minus 10 equals 0, and to solve for x, we add 10 to both sides. And x plus 8 equals 0, and to solve for x, we subtract 8 to both sides. So now we have x equals 10 and x equals negative 8. So remember that x represented the number of people originally going on the trip. So I'm going to disregard this answer because it's not acceptable within the confines of the problem. It doesn't make sense to say, oh, negative 8 people were going on the trip originally. Makes more sense to have 10 people going on the trip. And if you take that up to your original equation, we kind of want to just do a quick check. 800 divided by 10, so if the cost was 800, let's say 10 people that's what x equals, are going on the trip, then the cost per person is going to be $80. Okay, and if the original number of people was 10 and 2 fewer are going, then that would be 8. That's going to end up being a cost of $100 per person. So that represents, yes, that this is now going to be $20 more expensive if those 2 people do not go. So just confirming that x equals 10 is indeed the final answer.